Welcome to the Leverton on Everything podcast. I'm Leverton, and this is Everything, a daily podcast where I review literally everything in under 10 minutes. It's actually 10 minutes. I have another Leverton over here, Jacob, my son. I'm not sure how much he'll contribute to this particular episode, apart from random noises,
I
because
just saw that my friend texted me and ignore that for now. Welcome. Dad took my buy privileges
from one episode, because he
from
was...
from the episode we just recorded. I said bye, but then he before I got to say, what are you doing?
No one's gonna like that, son. No one's
Before
gonna
I
like
said
it.
it cut off.
I wonder
and
why.
then, because Dad here stopped the podcast before I could say bye, and then he cut out the bye, the start of the bye.
You know, this is a 10-minute podcast. I might have to edit all of that out.
No, you won't.
Okay, well, that was a rambling introduction. We're going to talk about Titanic. I would say it's very long, but it manages to keep the viewer interested even when the ending is inevitable. So the whole Jack and Rose story keeps the story of the tragedy interesting for people. So I've talked a lot in this podcast about the difference between plot and story. So plot is like just what happens to the characters, and story is what the movie is actually about. So the movie is not about what happens to Jack and Rose, even though people think it is. It's about like class and, you know, the arrogance of man and how people think that they can build anything and it won't be destroyed. You know, and they're very nice about it. Like the shipbuilder is like, you know, I've built you a fine ship, Rose, and then when it's sinking, he's like, I'm sorry, I couldn't build you a better ship. But you know, actually, it's not the ship's fault, because if they had been going slower, they probably would have survived, right? The special effects hold up. Jake didn't even know that it was CGI.
I thought it's just kind of stupid that they didn't do it really.
I mean, the shots of the ship sailing are CGI, and when they're in the water, that's real. My daughter, who's not here, maybe she'll be on a podcast someday. Who knows?
She just vanishes when we start to record the podcast. She was like just here, and then we click to record, and then she just Thanos snapped out of existence.
And then we'll snap back in when we stop. But anyway, you know, it'd be cool to do one with her someday. But she liked it, even though we were watching it on Pluto TV that has a lot of ads. So basically the movie is long by itself, and then it was increased by the number of ads, but she liked it. The movie is full of great lines, which are now, I guess, things that people say in culture, like, I'm king of the world, I'm flying Jack, paint me like one of your French girls, which is a little bit insulting to the French girls. And there's a whole plot that, like, he loves her more than anyone else in his entire life, but he seemed to have a very interesting love life before. And he seems to be like 17, so maybe that is his reaction. I don't know. One thing that has also been a part of the dialogue about this movie is the door, whether they could both fit on the door or not. And in my opinion, having just watched the movie, I would say they did try to both get on the door. It's just, it was like slipping. So Jack was like, I'll be the one in the water. He was a gentleman who froze to death, you know. And I'm not, so there are a lot of things that I think James Cameron, the director, wanted to make the movie as accurate as possible, but I think that there are a lot of things that didn't actually happen or happened. So Molly Brown, she is the very rich American woman in the movie, and she is in one of the lifeboats, and the movie shows her saying to the captain of the lifeboat that they should go back and get survivors, and in the movie they don't. And I think that they really did in real life, and that's why she was famous. The last thing I would say about this movie is, although it's very good and it does a very good job of keeping you interested in this story from, over 100 years ago now, I didn't really understand Rose like the old version of Rose. This crew, so the framing device is that there's a crew looking for this jewel called the Heart of the Ocean, which is supposed to have sunk with the Titanic. And they raised money for this expedition. And then Rose suddenly decides that she wants to talk to these people. So she calls and they invite her onto the ship, and she has all of her pictures and her little dog, and it's really weird. But the very last scene of the movie is she is throwing this jewel over the side of the boat. And so this jewel doesn't exist. Rose and Jack don't exist. They're not real characters, but of course the Titanic really did sink. But in the story, they are saying that this jewel was made from another jewel, which I think is now part of the crown jewels of the royal family of England, of the United Kingdom. And that jewel, the real jewel that exists, which this fictional jewel is supposed to be half of, is anywhere from 130 million euro to 400 million euro valued. So $500 million for this jewel. And she just threw it in the ocean. And my kids had this theory that she threw it in the ocean so that the expedition could find it, but why not just give it to the expedition? I really don't get that. All right, those are my thoughts about Titanic. What did you think about Titanic? That's not a real thought.
That's my thought.
All right, this is going to be edited later when he's not around.
No.
But you did have a thought about it. You said it was too long.
Yeah, I did.
He didn't like it.
What do you mean I didn't like it? I said it was too long.
Did you like it?
Yes.
Okay, he liked it, but it was too long. All right, check out our other podcast, check out our other podcast, Jacob, you need to learn discipline when recording. I know we've been recording a while. This is the last one. Check out our other podcast, the Everything and More Etc. podcast, where there are a bunch of other noises. My podcast, Leverton.
Like the mic walkage.
Yes, the mic walkage. My podcast, Leverton and Everything podcast, where I review everything. Our podcast, we review basically things that we like. And Death by Disney, where I review. But that
wasn't on purpose.
No. I just promoted this podcast on this podcast. I meant to promote Death by Disney. That's the one that you're not listening to right now. So please check it out. I review Disney movies in chronological order. Thank you. Bye. I'm going to die of shame now. Bye-bye.
Bye.